I want to be me. And I've got to prove myself, and everybody's got to look at me, and I'm going to be the star, and I'm going to be unique in a way that's like everybody else. I was looking for something that made sense, that gave meaning to my life, that explained my own experience, and Buddhism really hit the nail on the head, especially the way the Buddha talked about the cause of suffering, and referred it back to ourselves, to our own mind, because always before that, I thought happiness is outside, suffering is outside, so I have to rearrange the world and make it what I want. And the Buddha just said that's a useless pursuit, and check your own experience and you'll see that the main happiness and suffering come from your own mind, how you create it. Okay, why did I become a nun? Because I wanted to dedicate myself to the path. The whole idea of bodhicitta, of becoming a Buddha to benefit sentient beings. It was the most wonderful, noble thing I could ever think of in my whole life. And I wanted to dedicate all my energies to doing that. It was like, what else are you going to do in this world? When you think about samsara, we've been everything, we've done everything. We've revolved around one rebirth after another rebirth since beginningless time. No sense doing that again. But the whole idea of becoming a Buddha and then devoting my life energies to really being a benefit and service to other sentient beings, then that just seemed to make so much sense and be so wonderful. And becoming a monastic was the best way to cut the distractions, to be able to devote myself to what was important to me. And also because I saw that I really had to get my ethical act together, that, I had thought, when politicians and business people lie, that's terrible. But when I lie, it's for a good reason, it'll benefit somebody, it'll protect them from getting hurt. So I realized there was some kind of double standard there, and I had to really start living what I believed in and stop all this kind of rationalization. So taking the monastic vows was saying that that's what I'm going to do. Well, I must say that when I ordained, I was part of the first generation of Westerners who ordained in the Tibetan tradition. And so for women, our example was the Tibetan nuns. Okay. Now the situation of the Tibetan nuns has changed a little bit since, the 70s. But still there's some very common threads, now and then. But especially then, the nuns were very quiet, very meek, very sweet. They didn't ask questions. They weren't leaders. They kind of stayed in the background. And so I took that as my example, and I tried to be like that. And I got to a point where I couldn't be like that. It was like, this is not me. I have a college education, I have a career, I know about the world. I can't be sweet and shy and, it's like I have my ideas and I have something to offer. And so it really reached a point with me where I had to accept that I was different than the institutional role that was put forth for nuns. I think a strong outcome of how my relationship with the institution is that I began Sravasti Abbey, because I felt that as Westerners, not so much as a woman, but as a Westerner, we have to have structures that correspond to our culture. And so there were structures that, Asian culture sees things one way, Western culture in another way. And I really wanted to set up something that corresponded more to our Western culture, because I thought, we're Westerners. Yeah. And part of Western culture, at least now, is gender equality. And I think it's really essential for the spread of the Dharma in the West to have gender equality. Now, if you look back, so many of our pratimoksha precepts, our monks and nuns' vows, were established according to the culture that the Buddha lived in, so that the lay people would not be pushed away, the lay people would not be offended. Yeah. Well, now if we bring in the whole bias aspect that comes from Western culture, we're going against the Buddha's wish, which was to make the Dharma available to as many sentient beings as possible, and for as many sentient beings as possible to benefit from the Dharma. So I think gender equality is like incredibly important in our culture for that reason. And it won't spread in the West otherwise, it really won't. And if it does, it won't be healthy. It's like have a family, get a job, have a mortgage. Didn't appeal to me. Huh?